if you win, you would be the first woman president, but also the first Jewish president.
That's right. Yes.
Is it anti-Semitic to criticize Israel?
To my mind, it is anti-Semitic to suggest that it's anti-Semitic to criticize genocide, to imply that it's okay with Jews and Judaism for genocide to be conducted. I think it does actually put Jews at risk around the world for saddling Jews and the Jewish religion with this horrific genocide being falsely carried out, in the name of Judaism. This is not about Judaism, this is about Zionism. And just take a look at any of the encampments.
How do you feel about what's going on in Gaza?
What's going on is extremely anti-Jewish, that it is really a violation of Jewish values to be committing a genocide. Put very simply. This is not a religious conflict. This is an issue of Zionism, which is, has been a practice of ethnic cleansing from the get-go. Ethnic cleansing invariably pushes towards genocide. So it's a big wake-up moment, I think, for the Jewish community, and I'm glad to say that a lot of people are having their eyes opened right now.
Name 3 countries in Africa.
In Africa, all right. So how about South Africa? How about Rwanda? How about Tanzania?
And
Malawi, Mali, Sudan, Algeria, Egypt. Yeah, I mean, the list goes on.
That's good.
Oh my God! Wow!
Can you name 3 countries in the Middle East?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, written in blood, Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Yemen. Whatever country you're from in the Middle East, we owe you a big apology.
Could you name 3 countries that start with P?
All right, hang on. Panama, Paraguay, Palau. Yeah, Palau's a country.
Is Jill Stein for Palestine?
Jill Stein is most definitely for Palestine, yes.
Okay, so you decided to wear a hijab. So can you explain why you did that?
Oh, out of respect, coming to a mosque. Yeah, no, coming to a mosque, we always put on hijabs. And also, I love the hijab. It's very beautiful. And I find myself getting very attached to this hijab and other possible hijabs. I find it's just really beautiful. I'm just coming out of jail. We were asked by the students to join their defense, and to tell you the truth, I felt it would be unconscionable not to do that because our future really is in their hands. It was kind of scary, to tell you the truth, because I got separated from the rest of the crowd, and it initially felt like there was a lot of safety in numbers, but then it turned out that I was being charged with assault after being assaulted by a bicycle and basically thrown onto my head backwards. I was charged with assaulting a police officer. Can you believe it? This is about freedom of speech, and not just any old freedom of speech, but freedom of speech on a very critical issue that needs debate and dialogue. And there they are, sending in the riot police and basically creating a riot in an otherwise peaceful demonstration. So this is just shameful for us not to support them when they are putting everything on the line, their lives, their careers, their graduation. It's just heart-wrenching, what young people are going through. So we wanted to be there to support them, and we joined the line, and it just felt like it was the right thing we had to do. We have to stand up and call this out, and that's what our campaign will continue to do. We are doing this election to ensure that the American people have a choice in the voting booth, that we're not just going to be presented with actually 3 pro-war, pro-genocide candidates between Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and RFK, who pretends to be a peace candidate, but who is all for basically the abuses of the Israeli government and makes no bones about it. And in fact, he is probably the most aggressive Zionist among the group. Yet he is petitioning actually outside of the pro-Palestinian encampments, representing his petitioners are representing his campaign as though it was a campaign for Palestinian rights. By no means, it's exactly the opposite. So, we're here to hold their feet to the fire and to give the American people what they are clamoring for, which is a real choice with political integrity that will stand up for the peaceful future that we deserve. Because what happens in Gaza doesn't stay in Gaza. Are we going to normalize the murder and torture of children on an industrial scale? Are we going to dismantle international law and human rights? That's the stakes, and leave it to the students here in this university to hold a really peaceful, exemplary rally where there's education going on and wonderful, inspired speakers. So it was a really uplifting experience, and I think our universities are being challenged now fundamentally. Who are they for? Are they for war contractors and a future that will destroy all of us and impoverish us? Or are they going to uphold principles of democracy that our colleges and universities are supposed to represent? And I think the students are doing a heroic and courageous job of posing these issues and this challenge to our universities and really to our whole society. We also need reparations to address this historic and compounded burden of economic disparities. Many people say, oh, slavery, it ended. Well, it ended, but then it became lynchings, and then it became Jim Crow, and then it became redlining, and then it became segregation, the war on drugs, mass incarceration, and then this police violence, which is really just the tip of an iceberg. The training of our police has to be changed. Communities need to be put in charge of their police instead of having police in charge of their communities. So, we need citizen review panels that have the power of subpoena and so on. We need to be able to hold perpetrators accountable through investigations of every death at the hands of police. So there are things we need to do about that violence, but we also need a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And in my view, people are tired of being thrown under the bus by wealthy elites and their bought politicians. Tired of living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to pay the rent, locked in student debt and medical debt, child poverty double.
I think people need to realize that Trump or Biden they're not the only options here. Thank you so much for that rundown. I mean, personally, I wasn't familiar with your campaign and the Green Party until fairly recently. It's funny because I was basically asking myself why there isn't a candidate or party that stands for these values. And in your